Good morning, New Eden. Today is October 21st, 2023, and this is the Federation Frontline Report. I am Frozen Fallout, and I will be your host today, and we have a very special guest with us, Tenk. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. How are you doing?
Doing well, man. So tell me, who you flying for these days, and what are you doing in Eve?
Right now, I'm with Sedition, but more locally, I'm in the Seal Club 6 Corporation, which is part of the. It's the corporation that we created to uh, move
Club
around
Seals?
Well, basically like our core AT team, So
Okay,
like
yep.
in the off season, we're with Sedition right now to kind of have something to do.
Yeah, so
And
running around in faction warfare, causing havoc, being in Young Puke's fleets, like that guy, like does some pretty epic fleets. Is out there kicking ass, taking names.
yeah, and
Definitely
like
having a
it's
lot of
fun
fun
for
in the
me
north.
because like that's where I kind of came up in faction war a lot was in Galmel area with Fed Up, which I believe you were in back in the day, and then Young Puke
Kind
was also
of.
in this area.
It's a weird story how I'm connected to Fed Up because I was never actually in Fed Up.
Oh yeah,
But
I guess you left before that whole thing kicked off, right?
Yep, I was the founder of X Meta. That was Mecha Enterprises Fleet, which was a break off from my original corporation that me and my like 7 buddies originally created called Mecha Enterprises Group. And I was like, when Faction Warfare came out, I was like, dude, we got to have like a corporation in Faction Warfare, and I'm gonna run it, and we're gonna do like crazy things. And so I built up X Meta, and I loved the name X Meta for the tag. Mecha Enterprises Fleet was like a great name, and I was doing really like we were doing really well. We were part of Flora Chords for a while and stuff like that, and I ended up going to a goon party and like getting super drunk and finding out that these guys like party in Madtown, USA, Madison, Wisconsin, and I was like, oh, I gotta join up with these guys, and I felt like I couldn't just put an alt in the corporation and let it run because it was, there was a good like 7 or so people that were doing a bunch of faction warfare, and I was moving on to a different area of the game. So I handed on over to Pyro, I want to say. I can't remember off the top of my head exactly, but I think it was Pyro. Um, and said, here's the corporation. It's doing well. Go do something great with it. And they did.
Yeah,
In the end, it kind of all fell apart as many things in the real world and in Eve. The more time, eventually something will, happen. But happy
yeah.
affiliate anniversary. Thanks, Samson.
So I think the big falling apart for that was like the end of World War B2 because they just kind of were caught up in the tappy. I mean, me personally, I took like a multi-year break from like doing anything intense on TQ. I would just log in and do like a Yeet fleet every once in a while, but uh, you know, man, like the way that played out in like that December and January, it like killed my motivation to play. And I had like my I didn't have my upgraded computer at the time, so I had like some clients on my laptop, some clients on my computer, so I could like run all of them, Because, man, that was the most fun I was like having. I think, just having like 6 accounts, and like people hate tie dye, but like, and this is gonna be a really dumb comment, but like, if you just have enough accounts, then like tie dye's awesome because you can actually like control them all like reasonably well without struggling to
Yeah, no, that's a
like
really good point. And in those big battles, you do have a lot of people with a lot of accounts. And so, yeah, I mean, tie dye. To be honest, I mean, people hate tie dye.
It's
But
better than the server crashing.
I mean, yeah, if you're an old schooler like me and you remember jumping in and just the entire client freezing, nothing happening, weird shit just, going on, all of a sudden you just explode out of fucking nowhere, or you become this
Or like
weird
grid loads
ghost.
and your ship doesn't load, and you're like, wait, where am I at? You know?
Yeah, and I think like 98% of the time tie-dye has fixed that. And there are a few instances where that still happened, but it's because like 5,000 people jumped into a freaking system or something like that. Like, I mean, you
Yeah,
put that kind of
that was
stress
pretty.
on a server and yeah, you're gonna break it. And we
Yeah, if you're pushing up against the wall, like they if they build a bigger room, like Eve players are just gonna find a way to push up against the wall again.
Yeah,
Because
no, and it's kind of they talk about it in Eve Empires of Eve that it's kind of like weather, but imagine if we were all superheroes and every time that there was a fight that was going on, it caused storms and crazy weather effects that were happening, and you get enough of those people together that just like you have to be aware of the weather you're going to create by the battle that you're going to be doing, and so you know you have to be aware of that situation and prepare for it, and certain
yeah,
people didn't prepare. They were like, okay, they prepared to a certain degree. Like I believe there was the jumping into like 1DQ or I think it was 1DQ or one of the last big huge fights where they jumped in like thousands of people, but they figured that they had enough time if they gave it like 30 minutes that they would be able to actually load, and then it ended up being ghost titans and stuff like that ended up on field where like people couldn't shoot. Like the titan was there but you couldn't shoot and lock it, but some titans were lockable, some died, but like ended up you
that
just
was M2 Tech.
yes okay.
I jumped in, so I had like a super, two faxes, and like three dreads that I was jumping in with, and my super like did the jump animation and everything, and then just ended up back in the staging system. The only ship that I had that made it through the jump portal was like one fax, and I never loaded grid, so I just logged the client off, and I don't think she ever. I think it got I think the fax got murdered, but like the kill had like no modules in it or something. It just looked like a hull wreck.
Yep.
It was like super weird,
Yeah, just
but
really weird stuff. I was actually in that fight with goons, but I can't remember what was exactly going on at the time. But like all I could do, like I remember hearing about it, jumping on real quick and just jumping into like an interceptor and trying to get in. No, I think I was independent at that time, and I think I just came in and tried to like get
third
in
party.
on all the kills. Yeah,
That's the
something
way to
like
do it, man.
that.
Like just get down in like a little tackle thing or some like destroyer that you can kill tackle with, and like just run away, and people will chase you, and it's an easy way to rack up some kills.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, let's take a step back here real quick and jump into the Wayback Machine here. Tell me, how did you get into Eve Online, and when was that?
So it's a funny story because like I started playing Eve in my mind in like 2012, but I went through like a bunch of old emails, and I was like, oh, I got this other account, and I was like, oh man, I forgot I made these characters in 2008, and like completely wrote it out of my mind. Um, but like, yeah, so I dabbled with Eve a few times, never really like caught the bug. I started playing pretty regularly in 2012. Did like some Galmill stuff. Ended up going over to a Marn militia with Fwedet at the time,
Okay, yep.
and I was only there. I wasn't there for that long. Long enough to learn like flat Thrasher fleets and fun stuff like that. Which as a newbie, you're like trying to figure out, oh, what can I actually do in this game? Man, Thrasher fleets, that's the way to go.
Dude, that's what I do for my Spectre fleets these days. Like, so now I've been taking out Spectre fleets. In our last Spectre fleet, we caught a Marauder doing the event sites for the Crimson Harvest, and my hunter was like, I see this like Marauder. He's running. He's on the outside. He hasn't gone through the acceleration gate yet. I'm gonna try and hold him down. And so he micro jump drived off. He was still able to hold tackle on him. He dies, but he ended up, when he died, the guy put himself into Bastion mode in order to do that. So it gave us just enough time to get there and get that point on him. We finally got the scram on him, and we just had like 30 Thrashers that were just pecking away at this Marauder. And
yeah, what's he gonna do? Because his gun's like, if you're, under the guns, like,
yeah, just orbit at 500 meters, and you just hey hoodlum, how's it going? Or hoodlumaniac. And so yeah, it was unbelievable. Like we were just blown away at how well and effective that actually was. We murdered him. It was worth like 2.6 billion ISK or something like that. So there's a competition.
Dude, like, taking newbies out, like, that's like the way to get someone in the game. Like,
yeah. Oh, that's a memorable experience for them. Then we blew up a Tengu not too long after. We got into a few fights with Frat and stuff. I took them to Zarzak. So that's one of my new like things is to go to Turner. We start in high sec, low sec, like the egg area, and then move over to Turner. While we're going to Turner, we'll try and hunt some things down, and then we'll go into Zarzak from Turner, and then go to 0.0 from there. And it's been like this little, like, you get a little bit of a tour while coming out on my Thrasher fleets. You're probably gonna die, but you're gonna get something to kill, so.
Yeah, it's like going on a tour at a brewery. Like, you still get beer,
Right.
Like,
awesome.
You get the history, but they entertain you while you're there,
Yeah. So you started off, joined with Galente, went over to the MR, and did a bunch of, like, some Thrasher fleets. So what happened after that?
So after that, I had a girlfriend who thought Eve was, like, really weird.
The second girlfriend that she didn't want to compete with?
Well, yeah, and, like, it's, like, a really social game, and, like, some people are really weirded out by that if you're, like, talking to people you've never met in your life. So, like, I just kind of quit playing for a few years, and I just mainly... Well, here's another thing. The main reason I, like, joined in 2012 was because I was watching the AT. I was like, I want to play the AT, man. That looks fun. And I've, like, always been super into competitive side of games. Like, really started with, like, Warcraft 3. Grinded out a bunch of time, like, 1v1s on the ladder. Was, like, getting up to, like, being on a team at one point in time. StarCraft 2 came out, so I moved over to playing StarCraft 2 because Warcraft 3 kind of died out at that point. Everybody moved over to StarCraft. I was like, up, not super high level, but like I was like playing in tournaments with some like bigger name people, and they were wiping the floor with me, but I was like, at least getting in there.
Right, yeah, I mean, really getting into the competitive, like, you're taking on some heavy hitters, and I'm pretty sure, you weren't always taking on super heavy hitters, or maybe you won a few matches against even the heavy hitters.
Yeah, but like, yeah, when it was a recognizable name, like from Complexity or like Evil Geniuses, they basically schooled our team, but it was like fun, like getting that side of things, because like, you have to like brand yourself in a certain way to like get any type of attention or like sponsorship deals or anything like that, and that was right when like the esports bubble was like filling up. Everyone was like, oh man, look at these prize pools, we've been playing for like $1,000 for 15 years, and like now it's like $100,000, and that was before Dota really hit big, and then started having the $1 million prize, and then the $10 million prize, and like just step in the game. Now it's kind of, I feel like the bubbles kind of burst a little bit, and everyone's kind of taking their foot off the gas when it comes to like huge prize pools and like a bunch of teams. I feel like in different games have like closed down.
Yeah, I mean the
But
fad kind of hits, to a certain degree where it's like, it was like, oh, this is super insane. Like, look at all these people who are watching, and when the viewership starts going down after, you start spiking, you have to kind of take it back and go, okay, well, let's actually
yeah, that's
evaluate
sustainable.
what profit we can make off of this if we have $1 million prize pool.
Yeah, exactly. So like all that to say is that when I got into Eve, I was like, man, I want to play in the AT. And then I got into Eve and I was like, that's not something you just can jump into. That's like multi years in the making,
Yeah,
Not
I
just
mean,
with
some games you can kind of like, if you just dedicate the next like 3 months of your life to like being perfect at this game, you could get into like some high level competitions and stuff. Whereas Eve, I mean, if you dumped maybe a bunch of money and dedicated 3 months of your life, you
Yeah, and
might
I
be
think at
able to
that
do
time
that.
that was pre skill injector too. So you couldn't like you could buy a character on the bazaar, right?
Right, but it
But
was
I don't think
expensive as
you could.
fuck to do that.
Yeah, and like you got to have the in-game money already, and I'm like a noob, so I'm like I don't know, like I'm like mining a asteroid in high sec, like oh, this is what you do, right? And and so like I realized like man, there's like not a reliable shot of me doing that in like a foreseeable time frame, and that's not like what I want to do. So I just started playing a bunch of Counter Strike instead. And like you said, like if you dedicate time to something like that game is like the basketball of video games. Like is really easy to understand. You get in, like the hotkeys are straightforward, WASD. You point your mouse at someone's head, you click them in the head, they die. It's like, oh, you gotta plant the bomb. All right, that's the objective. Or you gotta defuse it. It's like very simple. So like I just started spamming Counter-Strike games and like got up to a pretty high level in that game. And for whatever reason, my girlfriend at the time was like cool with me doing that, like sitting there like yelling all sorts of weirdness into a microphone about like two catwalk, like, three in shadow, and I'm like, what does that even mean? But yeah, so um we broke up and I was just like bored, and I had just moved back across the country, and I was like, man, let me like log back into Eve and see what's going on there. And then that's when I joined Aderon and was like doing faction warfare stuff again. And then that's when I like first started doing Logi pilot stuff.
Okay, yeah. So all the love to you, man. Like Logi pilots are the heart and blood of Eve Online PvP fleets.
Yeah, I feel like like how people think veterans, and like I feel like a lot of veterans are like, man, I don't really, I'll say you're welcome, but I don't really appreciate it, or like I don't like it. At least the few veterans that I've spoken to are like not super thrilled about people thanking them for their service in public.
Oh
That's how
yeah.
I feel with Logi Pilot. I'm like, yeah, like I just do it because it's fun. Like you don't gotta thank me.
I
But
just
I'll
I just
I'll
can't
take
do
it.
that gameplay for some reason. I'm shit at it. Like being
Dude, like everyone makes fun of F1, but it's like in Logi, like you can't stack your reps. Like so, you at a minimum you gotta be hitting three buttons instead of one. That's like three times as complex. What I mean?
yeah, you got to be watching watch list. You got to be really on top of broadcasts. Like
Well,
you're
and like people pay for your ship too, so it's great, man. Like low on cash, they're like, here, yeah, we got one handout, sweet, like sign me up. Because I originally started doing E-War, and then I realized like doing like small gang E-War like stuff like that, like if you bring E-War, like you just no one fights you, so they're just like, oh yeah, they got a carry. It's like, let's get out of here. That's gonna suck. Or like they got a bunch of jams, like no one wants to fight that. They're just gonna go away. Like, so you gotta like make it enticing a little bit, you know. And E-War is not the way to do that because that's just like
Yeah,
a
it
fun killer.
it's in the Thrasher fleet that I have. We've got a jamming ship, the Griffin. That's it's called Not Fun. It's like, yeah, it's, I mean, everybody fucking hates E-War. And it's
Dude, like, you mean I can't hit any of my buttons, dude? What am I supposed to do for like 10 seconds? It's a long time.
it's rough, man. Like, especially, I mean, if you get damped all the way down to nothingness too, it's like you're completely and utterly fucked. Like, there's nothing that you can do there. If you get jammed, you might be able to shoot the thing that's jamming you, but it's also probably 60 kilometers away from you, laughing. Like,
Yeah, and like, dude, even in situate, you're like, I got a heated SIBO with with a script in, and you're still getting jammed. You're like, what do I even do at this point, man? They're they're rolling higher dice than me, and I can't like compete, you know.
yep, yeah, they got a D20 with a +10, and you've got a D6 with a +1.
Yeah, it's not working. It's not working. Yeah. So, anyways, I was an Aderon. We were doing faction warfare stuff. Snuff, you know, kind of shit on everybody in the war zone, and like faction warfare kind of sucked at the time. It was like, oh, you can do like LP, farming, and some dude in adventure is gonna come in and like ruin your payout at the last couple minutes. And if you try to shoot him, he's gonna warp off because he's got like a bunch of warp core stabs on there.
Yeah, I really think that anything that has a warp core stab embedded into the ship, or and I think it is true for warp core stabs that you can't go into a
Yeah, they
Plex.
changed it.
But you can still go in with a venture, which I think is bullshit. Like,
Maybe I'm mixing up my memories because I think maybe the venture is what people went to after they banned the warp core stab from going in the plexus.
yes, yep. That's
But
what I
man,
kind
that's
of
just like
remember.
so frustrating. Like, especially if you're like in an active system and like someone like counterplexes and you got twice as much time to run this plex down. You sit there for half an hour, kill the little NPC every 5 minutes or whatever, and then some dude warps in right at the end for your payout, and you're like, oh.
Yep. No, yeah, I've definitely had that feeling multiple times, and the thing is that I've done it to people multiple times. I love it when I've
Yeah.
come in on a Plex and all of a sudden I see that, oh my god, they were like literally 30 seconds away from closing this Plex. Let's all just hang out here for 15 minutes and really piss this guy off.
Yeah, that's when you're like, oh, I'm warping out. You align, No, yeah, I mean, like, I try to warp out, but yeah, if it's, I'm not like that anymore. Not that big of a stickler about it, I guess. But yeah, so let's see. Doing faction warfare with Aderon, and then that was like right when Fed Up started doing the split. I don't remember what you want to call it, but it was basically like we had a staging in nullsec, and then we in pureblind, cloud ring. I want to say cloud ring.
Cloud Ring, yeah, that sounds right.
And then we also had our staging in Fleet, so it was like, oh, someone's shooting our Fortizar and Null, like we gotta jump clone over there and protect it, or like, but we also at the time were like allied with Wangs and everybody else that was in that pocket over there, so we would like group up for defense. But then Caldari, they all like the faction warfare zone was basically dead, and we were just keeping it alive to like shoot each other.
Yeah, that's what I
And
kind of heard, was that, yeah, there was like, it was a big because I was talking to Asterothi about this, and it was like when that kind of happened, it was like the 0.0 crew versus like the low-sec, faction warfare crew when it came to like ideology clashes within FedUp.
well, yeah, well at first because it was like a split deployment, I guess you'd say. Everyone was still like faction war minded at the time. We were like, oh yeah, like dip our toes into nullsec, kind of do some cool stuff there. it's different gameplay, so like you kind of have a more options for like not burning out and stuff. And then so like faction warfare kind of died out. Like most of the Caldari corporations and stuff, like Templest moved into Nullsec, and I can't remember. They were like the main one we were fighting, so like I can't even remember. All the other ones were mostly small, and so they were the big guys. They moved into Nullsec, which kind of killed off, anybody to fight against. And then Snuff would,
It's just
get that.
snuff. That's all
Yeah, it's
that's
just Snuff
left.
things, If you play the game long
Fuck
enough, you
snuff.
understand what that means. Like,
Yeah.
so like we, I think at that point moved another staging into Pure Blind. So we had Pure Blind and Cloud Ring areas. Or wait, no, I'm mixing this up. Wangs went and allied with Snuff, and then we had like a civil war in Galmel, and that whole pocket basically blew itself up, and then Wings came out the victor, I think, at the time, and kept the pocket over there. And we just moved into Pure Blind, just to like have a place to go. And we still have like our Fleet staging, and we were still like around the area, but it was a time frame when you could like literally just undock your dreadnought and gate like 10 jumps, and just for fun, and like no one would shoot you because it was so dead. I'm just gonna gate my dreadnought down the way, see if we can get any content. And so we were in Pure Blind, and then I can't remember the order of how everything happened, but like Tissue was camping us, and then Snuff and our draw was shooting us, and eventually we got evicted, and we were kind of like, what the hell do we do now? And I think it was Silver at the time was reaching out to different groups and stuff, and like Goons offered to take us in, but we had to like absorb into another corp, or it was like some weird stipulation. But like at the time, it was like right when Tappy was starting, and that was like, or Voltron, I guess it was known at the time. Not Tappy, Pappy.
Pappy, yeah. Pre-Pappy.
Pre-Pappy, that sounds like a medical condition. But so that was like, it was called Voltron at the time, because it was basically a bunch of smaller alliances in the southeast that we would all like protect each other against like capital threats and stuff. And then we were all under the umbrella of Test, basically. So like Test was like, yeah, like it was kind of like their like newbie, null sandbox for like corporations. It's like corp rehab or like something, it's like,
Yeah,
all right, like you're not like a big enough alliance to like go protect your own space, so we're gonna put you in with like all of this other group of people that are also in that same position, and if you all protect each other, then you have enough people.
Yeah.
Which was like cool, because you meet a lot of different people and a lot of different alliances and stuff, and like I still run into those people and like, hey, what's up? Talk about fighting frat and Immensity and stuff back at the time. That was like a really fun war, but it was one of those wars that was like, we're kind of just doing this for fun,
Yep. No, those are some of the best wars where it's not, you don't have to like be freaking out about it, but
like
but it's
not
just,
getting
like,
evicted
constant.
really. It's like, all right, we deployed out some like heavy assets, and a bunch of like fleets were gonna fly around your space. You're like, sweet stuff to shoot, and all I gotta do is run 3 systems. Like, that's amazing. And that was like the best part of the World War B2 thing, was like, man, you undocked, you had 1 gate to jump, and you were in enemy staging. It was like, let's go.
It's one
like,
of the reasons why
fight.
it's really one of the reasons why I love faction warfare, especially after all the updates and everything to it now, is that I mean, really, you undock and you go a few jumps, and boom, you're in the middle of the war zone. Like, there's shit to shoot, there's shit shooting at you, and
Yeah, now that they made piracy in the Warzone like not completely screw you over, it's like a lot more fun to just shoot people with no, you know. Before, if you're just like unaffiliated, you want to shoot people, it's like, man, it kills your standings, all this other stuff. I mean, you don't care about that. You're -10 rank, so
yeah, I just
I gotta go buy stuff in high sec every no.
yeah, well, so I have my alt that does all my high sec stuff, but actually just recently I fucked up and had friendly fire turned on in my corporation, and was one of my buddies, after doing a Thrasher fleet, he was like, hey, can you get me the Pod Express home? And I was like, yeah, sure, not a problem. And I shot him, and my standings for Galente just like sunk into the ground all of a sudden. I was like, oh shit, like, I've been doing faction warfare for so long, I got all the big bumps for doing it, but then, sometimes you've got farmers or weird, seagulls that you got to deal with, or, somebody that, is coming after you, so you've got to shoot them first. And I've got my standings down to, it was at like around 2.0 or so, and then it went into the negatives when it came to that, and almost got my entire corporation kicked out because we have a small membership count right now. So I just fixed my sec status. It was like, okay, how do I fix Galente standings real quick? And actually, it's really easy to, like, you do the career missions, the Cosmos missions, the data sites or whatever. And
Yeah, like the Eve arc, I think the epic Eve arc, I think, gives you almost like one whole standing raise every time you do it. Or
yep.
One whole point or something like that.
The only problem I have with that is I've been kicked permanently out of Caldari space, so I can't really do the full Eve epic arc. But there's a bunch of like one-off shit that you can do, and I got my standings back up to like 1.0.
Acceptable level.
An acceptable level, for a Luminaire general. I'm I have some Galente standings, and I won't be completely kicked out. I also had to like
you shoot one pod, it's like they really get you. They're like,
oh yeah, it was like -2 points is what it like did to
wild.
me.
Especially, dude, considering like how much like either mission running or like shooting the alternative like NPC in a Plex, how long it takes to build that standing up, and you shoot one pod and you're like, dang, that was like a month of work.
Yeah, no, that's more than a month. I mean, depending, because I mean, right now you really only get boosts from, doing or getting a promotion, and so that's in faction warfare. You really only get a full standings boost with the Galente when you get promoted, but you only get a negative for doing that, and missions kind of suck now. You can do it to get really quick boosts to your promotions, which I'm already promoted all the way, so that I couldn't go down that route to fix my standings. But that's but you don't also tank your Caldari standings very much anymore, because it's just promotions that will tank your standings. No other action besides the mission running. If you kill the mission NPCs,
mission running still kills your standings, which is weird to me.
Yeah, and it's
for battle for PvP, but not for the mission run. But I run like, I don't know, when they had like some event, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, where like LP got really, can't remember what maybe they changed a ship or something, but man, like LP was like a hot commodity for a minute. And yeah, that was the only time I ever ran missions, because you could stack up so much LP so quick with like the level 4s.
Yeah, I'm really happy that they've kind of tanked the level 4 mission running for faction warfare, because I mean, you could do it safely. You did it if you did it with like 3 or 4 characters. You just went around, you picked up like 15, or well, like 5 to like and you could do it in T3 destroyers, and then you were fairly safe. You just went and picked up like 10, 15 of them, just hopping around the war zone with all of your characters to grab the missions. Then you went out and did them, and it wasn't really a PvP activity, whereas plexing is very much a PvP activity, and that's where the LP is being made these days. and mission running is dead. And it can still be used to make. You can get really good boosts to promotion very quickly by running missions. But that's the only thing you really want to run missions for these days.
But that, I mean, that makes sense in my mind because that would be like, I don't know if you ever played like WoW or like Battlegrounds or anything, you
A
know.
little bit.
But it's like, they had like specific PvP gear you would get for going in there. But that would be like, hey, yeah, go fight this like NPC boss and get gear for like in the PvP area. It's like that doesn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah,
why are we
what
doing
the fuck?
PvE over here? Like the whole point of the system is to shoot someone that like is actually there. Like, and then the missions was just like it was annoying to me because it was so much more efficient than like
Right.
actually flying PvP, Like,
Yeah, no, exactly. It was more efficient, and the shitty thing is as a hunter, if you saw somebody in there doing a mission, you had to have like a design that could handle the rats, because even if you were in the Galente and you went into an enemy's mission, and the Galente rats saw you, they were like, "Fuck you!" Like, wait, what? Why are
yeah,
you
like I'm
switching
helping
over
you,
to
dude.
me? Like, yeah, we're in this together, man.
And that was my first experience in Pochven because like man, it was kind of embarrassing for me too because I had been flying Logi for a good amount of time at this point, and um, in my defense, I specifically asked, I had, I was like, I have zero standings. Does that matter? And everyone's like, you just have to have positive, and I was like, I have zero. It's like, that's not a positive number, but it is not negative, right?
Right.
And I wiped the whole fleet because you do have to have a positive standing. So
Yep. I didn't have or I haven't wiped an entire fleet doing that, but I do remember when I was flying around the war zone with my worm, and I had put like a decent amount of shit into my worm, and I was having a lot of fun just going and getting. This is before all the big changes that happened, so you could actually use a worm to go dominate the plexing
oh man,
in faction warfare.
those
And
dude, like I would not even go into a Plex with a worm in it.
yeah, no, exactly. And I didn't sit with my worm. I went chased. It was just like you
Yeah,
just go
yeah.
hunt down people with your worm. And I remember jumping into a Triglavian gate camp, and I was like, whatever. I'm in a worm. I'll just warp to the next gate. It's not going to be a problem. And what the fuck? All of a sudden, all
Yeah.
the alarms are going off, and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And they just blew me up in like 3 seconds. It was like ridiculous, and I was just like, that was the day that I went, okay, how the fuck do I change this? Like, I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
heard rumors about, oh, it's really easy. You just go to trig space and you shoot a drone and you'll be fine. And I was like,
I
I
want
always
to
heard
raise
about
them
it.
both because I don't want to get shot by either of these buttholes. You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah. And so I was like, okay, like, I heard about it. I was like, but whatever. I mean, I've never been affected by these Triglavians. I don't want to waste time going to this other space. And immediately I was like, okay, how the fuck do I do this? And looked it up and was like, okay. And it's super easy. I mean, and I do now have positive standing with Edencom and Triglavian because I didn't choose a side in the war when that content first came out. So I'm
Yeah.
now able to get everywhere. But every once in a while, when I take a fleet somewhere, I'm always like, hey, is anybody negative with Triglavian? And it's almost always a yes. There's almost always at least one person. And so, you always have to go scout the gate and see if there's a Triglavian gate camp and maybe try and figure out a way to like pull them off if there is, or you have to go way the fuck around like an extra 20 jumps to
Or
like
just
get
send that
somewhere.
one person in as a sacrifice on their own and then jump in by yourself afterwards. Like, hey, good luck to you. Um,
Yeah, just come
here's how
with
you
us, you'll be
warp off the
fine.
gate.
Daya,
Yeah.
thank you
So
so much for the. Yeah, I didn't even realize it. Is it like announcing that it's my affiliate birthday? Because I didn't realize that this is the
oh,
day that.
happy birthday, sir. Glad to be on for the old anniversary.
Yeah, no, it was great. This was timed out perfectly for that. That's what you're our special guest for the anniversary. So
Yeah.
it pre-writes it into the chat box. Awesome.
Dang.
um,
Yeah. Twitch is wild now with like, because I started watching back when it was Justin TV, people were like streaming their video games and like they're like, hey, we could like spin this off into its own thing. Twitch. I think I guess that might work, you know. Now it's like billions of dollars over the
It's
company, you know.
huge,
Pretty
man,
crazy.
huge. If you would have told I mean, I don't make much money off of my affiliate status, but I do make money off of my affiliate status. And if you would go back to like my 16-year-old self and been like, you can make like a few $100s a year off of just playing video games and having people watch you play video games, or I've also created podcasts, other stuff like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
my other self would just be like, I mean, I think you're lying. Like you
Yeah,
can't be serious. Like, I mean, you mean that I made a video game that I'm like showing to people and then that's how I make my money? It's because they bought my video game? Or no, like you just
no,
play
they're just
video
watching.
games.
They're just watching. Yeah. No, like my Twitch streaming career was very short-lived because like I was like relatively drunk most of the time, playing copyrighted music and then like playing competitive Counter-Strike. So it was like you, there's not a whole lot of time to read chat, and then it's just like, well, I had to go back and just delete all the VODs and just be like, we're gonna pretend like that didn't happen, And you couldn't watch most of them anyways because they like all the VODs were all like copyright struck because of all the music in it. So
Yep. Now they just mute you and
yeah,
it, like
yeah,
destroys the VOD, like So
yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but
yeah,
I'm not, dude. I got a good music collection. I'm not gonna go like try and find like some duty free whatever. I mean, there's good stuff out there, but you're very limited. You know,
yeah. It is extremely limited.
like
It's
I want to put some Dead Prez on. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, let's go.
One of the things I do like is that I've got a local band, Lords of the Trident. They're like a heavy metal, like hair metal band that like does crazy pyrotechnics and dresses up in like Dungeons and Dragons costumes and stuff like that when they
Oh
go
yeah,
out on stage. They're super charismatic presence out there. And I had the honor of like interviewing them and stuff like that for one of my other podcasts, and they're totally into gaming and Dungeons and Dragons and World of Darkness and
and you
stuff like
haven't
that.
recruited them to Eve yet.
Um, I'm trying, a little bit. It's hard, but I did get permission from them to, stream their music while I'm playing games and stuff like that. Just give a
Oh
credit
yeah,
to them and stuff like that. And they're really really awesome. So they don't have it so you don't get muted on Twitch for playing their music, but if you put it on YouTube, there's the monetized. If you monetize your stuff, they get the monetization
yeah.
of it.
They get their piece of the pie.
Right. So, but yeah, it's Twitch is definitely an interesting beast in and of itself, and there's a lot, sometimes a lot of controversy and stuff, but
Oh yeah, I've
overall,
deleted my
I
Twitch
find it.
account like probably 2 or 3 times just because I was pissed at something there. Like I don't. Now I'm just like, that doesn't change their mind. I just don't give a shit anymore. But it's like at the time I was like, yeah, nah. What are you guys doing? I'm gonna delete my account. Back over it. Like, oh, that was a waste of time. Now I gotta make a whole new account.
Yeah.
And then I had an account for the longest time, and I couldn't remember what email I put it under.
Yep, that's a problem of yeah. That's
And like, then they made the whole thing. It was like you gotta log in on your mobile again, and I was like, I don't know how to do that. So I just didn't watch Twitch for like a year and a half because I was like, well, I can't log in. So
So tell me, how did you get involved in the AT tournaments eventually?
oh yeah, so we got evicted. We went to Immensity, and we were doing null stuff. And then like right when the war kicked off, I can't remember what the tournament was. It was because it was during the lull when the AT was canceled.
Oh, I remember that time period. Yeah.
So there was like some player run tournaments. There was like EVNT,
Anger
Alliance
games.
tournament, or wait, it was EventT's Alliance tournament, or maybe I'm like mixing channels up in my head. There was like um Captain's Cup, Anger Games, and I can't remember what the first tournament was, but it was like a 5v5, I want to say.
Okay.
So maybe I can't remember because each of these different tournaments has a different format. So
Yep.
if I just remembered which one was a 5v5, I'd be like, that was the one. But I can't do that right now. So,
That's fine.
um, but I joined a 5v5 team. One of my like fed up court mates was like, "Hey, like we need more members on this team. Is anybody like interested in flying?" And I had been doing Logi in like fleet battles for a long time at that point, like a few years. And I was like, "Oh, sweet! Like I can fly Evor or Logi, you know? Um, I guess, and I mean, like I had combat skills too. I just like if you if you mostly fly fleet battles, that's not that engaging. But like when you're flying AT, it's like super fun. But I didn't know that at the time. So like I was just like, yeah, like I'll fly Logi or Eeyore or whatever. And I joined the team and like um so like on my original team was uh Dinar from Test, and he still runs, I think he runs the Horde team now. But he was like the captain of our team. And then I had like three other members on that team that I like still have like we've been on like the same teams every year or in like every tournament going through. Um and well, so man,
So how far did you guys get in your first run at the tournament? Did you guys make
in
like
the 5v5 tournament,
yep.
we well, it was like a big controversy because one of my teammates cheated
Oh fuck.
and like none of us knew. So like it, you know, since it's not run by CCP, they don't have all the tournament tools available to them
Right.
to like to check that stuff, right? So this guy had like taken a bunch of drugs, and drugs were illegal in the tournament. And basically, like the opposing team made a like an unlisted YouTube video, and were like, "Yo, what is the size of this rep?" You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's like too huge of a rep on one cycle for what the what you can theory craft out with the rules. And so they like called him out on it, and they had all of us like screenshot our character sheets and do all this stuff. And like he kept like delaying doing that up until like the exact amount of time it took for drugs to run out. Because like the
Oh.
only way to kill drugs, right, is to jump pods.
Right. Yep.
So, and we're out in space, so you can't like unplug a drug like you can an implant. Um, but yeah, and we're like, dude, like, my whole thing was like, please don't disqualify us, because like, let's just kick this guy out, and like, can we like do a do over or something? Like,
Yeah,
yeah. So
that
that was like my
sucks.
first experience in tournaments. Was like, oh shit, my teammate's a fucking cheater. And so we didn't do that well, like, because then he was like one of our main battleship pilots. So like then once we kicked him out, we didn't really have a good core of players to make it that far. So, we got, and I mean, I wasn't expecting a whole lot because most of us had never played together before. We were all from different areas of the game. Uh, but the cool thing about that is like since I played with a couple of those dudes, they were like friends, and they knew other tournament players. So once the next tournament came out after that, which I think at that point was then Anger Games, um, they like recommended someone reach out to me. So then that's how I got on my next team. so they had Radicos. I'm sure most people in Eve know who Radicos is at this point,
Hmm.
but he reached out to me and like he asked me something about like Darth Jar Jar Binks, you know?
Oh yeah, the most
I
powerful
was like,
Sith in
dude,
all
I'm
of the world.
100% on board with that
Yes,
theory.
yes, yes. Join with us. The Darth Jar Jar is true.
Yeah, and he was like, "All right, you're on the team." That's like the interview process, you know? Like,
Hell yeah.
dude, but like, everyone talks shit on Jar Jar, but like when I was a kid, I liked Jar Jar. Like I was like, I guess the weird kid that thought he was cool, but like everyone else was like, he sucks, and I was like, what? Like I had Jar Jar Binks toys and shit.
I remember when Star Wars first came out. Everybody shits on 1, 2, and 3 a lot. I mean,
Now,
not as much anymore. Six,
now that the sequels are
yeah,
out, it's like,
7, 8, and 9 deserve to be shit on in my personal opinion. I'm a huge Legacy Star Wars universe fan, so
I
Legends.
used to read all the books and stuff.
Right.
So
The in it I feel like the books did a much better job of like flushing out the universe and creating such an interesting dynamic universe that like the story of Mara Jade and Luke and the children and all of the like the building of the Jedi Academy and the stuff was pretty epic. And then they came out with those movies. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I just feel like they did a disservice to the story that was already there. They didn't do it better. They did it different, and I didn't like it. But when 1, 2, and 3 came out, I remember, man, 1 was, dude, did you see how they fucking fought with the lightsabers
and
and the pod races were sweet. The pod racing game was epic. The
dude,
duel
on 64, I killed my controller on that game.
Yep, and they had the dual lightsaber, the lightsaber staff, basically that like everybody, when we were all kids, we were all drawing up these ideas. Like I remember multiple times, like thinking about like, oh yeah, you could have 2 lightsabers and stick them together, and you'd be like,
and then like you're going to the theaters and there's like kids in the parking lot with their like replica ones like fighting each other and stuff.
Yeah, no, real quick. So I bought this for me, and I got one for my wife and one for me. I'm gonna turn off the sound here because it's really loud, but.
Dang, dude. Oh, your poor chair.
Yeah, this is
oh yeah, that is loud.
It is really loud.
Cool, is that one of those fancy ones?
Yeah, where you can actually lightsaber fight, and you can change the lights. You can it does laser blasts and stuff, and you can do all different. Yeah, it's super awesome. But yeah, so
so to bring this back to Eve.
Yeah.
When I was in Fed Up and we were in Immensy, which is like at the point of the story we're at, Star Wars was a banned topic on mining fleets because it would just devolve into like hours long arguments between drunk people mining. It was like, all right, that's no longer allowed to talk about that on moon fleets.
Oh, that's funny as hell.
Oh man, I had forgotten about that until you brought that up, and I was like, oh man, remind me of something funny there. But yeah, so I joined Radicos's team. Then like my buddies from the other team was Chris Elliott, Zero Ethos, and then Bernie Nader. And Bernie Nader was like a big dude in a lot of areas of Eve. Like he was I can't remember what it's called, but like he had an ISD character. What is that?
Oh yeah, the news agency for Eve.
Yeah, or like no, it's like the community manager.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, okay, that one. Yep.
But he like unfortunately passed away early this year. So like RIP to my boy Bernie there, and like that main core moved over to Radicos team, and then from there we at the time Radicos was flying with Wildcard, like the wormhole group, and I was getting disillusioned with nullsec life because like that was right after the big M2 fiasco, and like I was so pumped about that fight, and then like it was the biggest letdown, you know? So like it killed my motivation to like log in for like probably 6 weeks. I was just like, man, you don't want to do anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but then like another tournament came around and I was like, all right, so like that was getting me back into playing Eve, but like I still wasn't logging into TQ because I was like, you know, if you're playing tournaments, you have like a set time every night where you have scrim partners and stuff. And you show up and you get fights like within 10 minutes, you know? Sometimes you gotta wait if like someone's running behind or whatever. But it's like consistent. And the fights are fun because it's like cerebral because you're both limited in like the amount of ships you can bring, the types of ships, the types of mods on them. So like the rule set really like formulates like how you look at that specific tournament, you know? Um so like I was like not happy with like, you know, Eve is like marketed as like there's these huge battles and then we try to have the biggest one and it just like was a was a it was like letting the air out of a balloon, you know? Um and then so like I really started getting in the tournament scene and then right then was like when I think it was Aurora
Yep.
was like bringing the AT back and I was like dope because like that's you know for 10 years that was like oh Eve like that's what I just want to play in the AT, you know. And then I finally came back to play Eve, got into it for other reasons, and then like the AT was canceled and I was like you got to be shitting me, man. Like I'm finally at a position where like I like have the knowledge in game. I have like a character that has enough skills. Like I have like the social connections to like be on a team and they cancel it. I was like you got to be kidding me. So when they like brought it back, I was like super stoked because once they announced the AT, people start practicing like
Mm-hmm.
within a week. So it's like AT's on, all right, like time to practice. So like, it could be 6 months out, you know, but you just know like, all right, for like the next 6 months, I've got consistent battles in Eve where I can just like do my thing, you know. And man, like flying in the AT is like it's in a whole new world of like learn how to fly your ship, you know? So it's fun going back to my old like faction war area and just like being a lot better at the
Yeah.
game, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. You like step up your game. You're like, ah, yeah, we can take like 5 guys out and do some
Yeah,
fucking
like I can
crazy
like
shit.
manually I don't have to orbit a button all the time now or you know, it's like I can just fly my ship around by
So
clicking in space.
during the tournaments, were you normally doing Logi or were you also doing DPS or Evor?
I would mainly do Logi and then I would fly Ewar like secondarily. So um when they announced the AT came back, I was on the wild card team, but instead of like joining a known alliance, we just decided we have enough members. Let's create our own alliance. And like in the other tournaments that we had been flying in under them, because that's where I ended up going. I got disillusioned with World War B2. I was like, man, null sucks. This is annoying. I only moved half my assets out like an idiot, so like a bunch of stuff went to asset safety that I very easily could have just like moved out, but I was like, nah, screw it, you know.
Yep. Fuck it, I'll pay
And then
for it
like
later.
of course I waited until after like all of the changes to like industry, so now all these capitals are like 10 times the price as they would have been if I just pulled them out of asset. So it's even more money on. But anyway, that's besides the point. Um, so like I was like, man, I moved like half my stuff out, and then I just joined Wildcard because I was like, wormholes I've like dabbled in, but I never committed to like living in one. The problem was though is that I was just doing tournament stuff all the time, so I never actually like really did a bunch of wormhole content. I just like kind of lived in there and logged into like Sissy or TD instead.
Mm-hmm.
So um
So how do you
did
feel
like
about Sissy real quick, just sidetracking real quick here? What do you feel about Sissy being down now? Has that affected your current gameplay at all?
yeah.
Fucking sucks, huh? God
Yeah.
damn it.
I mean like and the thing is like for tournament practice and stuff, when TD is down, you go to Sissy because you can make it work.
Right.
Um Now that's not really an option. I mean, like, want to say it's CCP Zealous is the one who runs TD. Um,
Thunderdome.
it's been a lot more stable since he's taken it over, and actually, like, it has its own dedicated server now, or one that he like has control over and maintains. So it's not part of like the stack of other servers, you know. That's just I don't know like the specifics. That's kind of just information I kind of gleaned uh talking to other people. But um yeah, so we were doing AT stuff. Uh I I joined like as a Logi pilot, but into like the start of practice, they like brought in other people that had more experience, right? So like I kind of got superseded and that
Oh.
I showed up and it pissed me off too because I showed up to like every single practice, like EU, US. I work from home, so I was like, I'm
Let's
there,
do this.
I'm in the AT. I'm gonna be in every single practice, you know what I mean? And then I didn't even get to fly live, so I was like, that fucking sucked.
Damn, man. That's rough. That was your first AT tournament you weren't able to actually participate in?
Yeah. I mean like I did all the prep and everything, and then at the end of the day, like at that point I had not been flying Logi for the team at all anyways. I was just doing Blackbird stuff. But we flew Blackbirds, but I still didn't make the cut. So I was like, man, that blows, you know? That's a lot of time investment to just like not have it pay out. And I get it too because it's a big ass team. Like, um, I think we flew like 3 or 4 matches, and it, you know, I never got to fly live. And I play soccer a lot, like rec league, and like it reminded me of one of my rec league teams where like no one would show up during the regular season. We'd always play like a dude down. So there was like no substituting. You had to play the 90 minutes. And then like once we made it to playoffs, like all the team managers' friends came and like we're here to play and like all the regular players like just got benched. I was like, that's kind of dumb, you know?
Yeah,
So,
no, that's rough. Did you guys win any prizes?
yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah, we
did
got
you did because you were benched though? Did you get any of those prizes for being in
I
the?
got like we didn't have enough because we got eighth place, I want to say. Eighth or ninth, somewhere right around there. So we got like eight like we didn't get like enough ships to give everyone a ship or anything. But and we also had like investors because like you need a lot of BISC unless you're gonna front it yourself.
Right.
Um for all the ships and implants and
Just to get into the
uh
tournament is like you gotta
oh,
spend plex
and
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 stuff
that
like that.
tournament in particular was a buy-in instead of like the feeders, so it was like a blind auction type of thing. And I think our bid was like 50 billion or something like that, just to get in, you know.
Yeah, a
And
character's worth of wealth.
yeah, exactly, just to fly in it. So like, where was I going with the story? I get sidetracked easy. Um,
uh, so we were talking about the prizes that you
oh
guys.
yeah, so that was like the Laylaps Raiju year.
Okay.
So we got a number of those ships. I was like supposed to buy a Laylaps, and I don't know. I kept putting it off. I like committed to buying it when I was wasted too, so like I didn't really know if I wanted to spend like 200 billion on one ship type of deal.
It's a lot of money. A lot of
Yeah, I'm
money.
like, dude, that's a lot of other stuff I can do in the game, you know? And that was pretty much my entire liquid wealth, you know, like what I could like get through selling skill extractors and like the other things I do to like fund my PvP, you know? So we got some Raijus, some Laylaps. We ended up selling them all off so they could split the winnings equally.
Okay.
But we also got a bunch of skins. So I got like skins out of it that are, you know, they're the Bargist and the Orthrus, like AT skins. So they're worth like probably 10 bill a piece or something like that. But it's just cool to have like a unique skin on
Oh,
your
for
Orthrus.
sure.
So, but yeah, so we got, and it's funny because like every year we've been in the AT, we've done slightly worse. And every year we've been in the AT, I've played slightly more. So after that year, like there was like some falling out amongst the leadership groups and stuff. So I just like was like, well, I'm gonna go with the dudes that I've been playing with for a couple years now, and we ended up joining PL. So the next year we played with PL, and then got to actually like fly in the tournament. It was dope. We got knocked out though. I think like 2-1. We went 1-2 that year, so like didn't even make the top 10. But I
So
mean,
no
like
prize
every other,
payout on that one.
I want to say we got some skins or something,
Okay.
but I can't remember exactly. Like I can't. It's hard to keep it all straight
Hell,
at this
man, it's
point.
hard to remember what I ate for breakfast yesterday. So I hear you, man.
So yeah, we gotta get into the tournament there. They did it differently that year. I don't think it was a buy-in. Um, but I can't remember exactly how it worked, how we got in. But we were in the tournament. I I moved back into flying Logi for that tournament, and we mostly were commit. Like there was like some schism amongst the leadership once again. Like that's like something that is just consistent through my experience. Is like too many cooks in the kitchen and they're all sniffing their own farts. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, man. Leadership,
I'm gonna be
leadership
in
is
trouble
always
with my
fighting with
teammates.
each other, man. That's the consistent thing in Eve is that
Oh yeah,
you're gonna have leadership disagreements, and I mean when you get big, I mean because Eve kind of brings out like the like bigness in you. You know, like you're like you get a big head of it's like okay, I'm running an alliance of like thousands of people, like you know, like I'm super
they
fucking
like
important. You gotta
I
listen to
like
me.
I say something and they do. You know?
Right. And then but then you have other people that feel like they're in the same position. Maybe they're, different rungs on the ladder, but, like everybody just starts, trying to jock for position on what they want things to do. And that's just, the thing about Eve is that it's very tyrannical, I think, is the way to kind of like run
Like
stuff.
it's like communism and tyranny together. You know?
Right.
It's like like everyone succeeds together, but like sometimes there's a dictator at the top.
Right, and most of the time it is. I mean, in order to experiments have been tried in Eve quite often with these larger groups of trying to do diplomacy or democracy, or forms of that kind of concept, and it fails like very harsh. Like it just is. This is not an environment. It's a war game at its heart.
Yeah.
It's about destruction and mayhem and yes, there's city building and stuff like that, but in order to protect your city building, you need a season.
Yeah.
Like
Well, and like I think that it's better to have. I mean, I don't know better, but in like the confines of Eve, I think it's more beneficial to have um a very like defined goal, even if it's not a great goal, than it is to like not have,
Any
or
goal.
just like kind of like wing it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's like kind of a dumb idea, it's like, oh, okay, we can we can work around this, you know? As
Yeah.
opposed to like, oh, I'm just gonna figure it out. It's like that doesn't work out that great in this. That's how you end up in this game with like 3 different weapon systems on your ship when you're a newbie, you know? You're like, well, missiles and blasters, I'm covering a lot of ranges here, so
Yeah, because I might need to hit something really far out.
yeah,
Something
yeah.
might get up close. So, I
Well, I got a
gotta prepare
railgun and
for
a
all the
blaster,
situations. Like.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I went like when I went and found my like starting ships, and you're like, oh god, can't share those with anybody.
So,
Oh
do
man.
you have any like crazy memories of what would you say would be the biggest highlight that you had during the AT tournaments that you participated
Um, I don't know about AT because we just been shit canned so frequently, but like other tournaments, I don't know, man. It's just really fun to be on stream and like pull off some cool shit, and like people be like, dang. Uh, like one moment I remember in particular, I can't remember who we were flying against, but like we were in a shield comp, like kite comp, and I was flying a scimitar with just a MWD, so like if I get scrammed, I'm pretty much boned. And then like the tournament meta scimitar is ancillary shield booster, so you have like a limited time to live if you get caught. Um, and they had like cornered me as well as you can do in a circular arena. Um, and like I I had like turned my MWD off and basically just drifted right around this dude. He's burned straight at me, and I'm at the edge of the arena, and I basically drifted him and slingshot him, and he was only like in scram range for like just a second, and I was able to like re-MWD and like, it was like some Tokyo Drift stuff,
in?
like
Hell yeah,
get a
man! Like
scimitar,
that's I can imagine this. Like just like wow, just flies right past you, he stops, turns around, you boost
Yeah,
out.
and like when you're in the match, you're just focused on the match, and then you go watch the VODs later, and all the commentators are like, "Oh, he's caught. He's gonna fucking eat shit," Oh, he's still alive. Like yeah, that's the good stuff right there, man. Or like in AT, like like flying a Friglogy 10MN is like the most, I don't want to say stressful, but it reminds me of playing StarCraft. Like in StarCraft, you're like, oh, I gotta have high APM, like I gotta be constantly like
Constantly
clicking
clicking.
and doing something. It's like with Friglogy, that is how it is. Cause like if you let your momentum build up in one direction for too long, like you are going that way no matter if you want to turn or stop. So like if you're trying to orbit something, you're constantly just like, I don't know what you call it if you're not spiraling, but it's like the same technique as spiraling, you know? You
Yeah.
double click in space, you move your screen slightly, you double click, So you're just making minute adjustments basically. But yeah, like you get done with 10 minutes of that, dude, you're like forearms burning, you're like, I need some water, like a massage, like it's a lot of work. So then you get in the cruiser logi, and it's like a lot more, it's just stressful because like there's 10 people on a team, but it's like a goalie in soccer, um your defense could like let you down, but if the ball goes in the net, you're still like getting the blame
Right.
even if it
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
your fault. So it's like
Yep.
that's how it feels to play Logi, is like, man, like I flew so well and we lost, but like I feel like I'm still gonna get like yelled at. I know, I don't, it doesn't ever really happen that way, but I just
It's the
feel like,
feeling,
yeah,
right? Yeah. It's reality versus feelings is not usually in line with each other, but that doesn't fucking matter.
yeah,
Like,
exactly. No, I'm like, uh-oh. But like, yeah, so that whole experience is just like, it's a, on it's not a, it's a, how to say it, it's like an untapped way to play the game for a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
When
There's,
people
I
like
mean,
complain about
99%, 99.999% of people will never participate in an alliance tournament or something like it.
yeah, and I think more should, man. Like even just like in the feeder stages, because you don't gotta like make a huge commitment, in my opinion. I mean, you gotta like have a team and like enough people, but like just getting in there and doing it is like such a fun experience in my mind. Even if you lose, like this last alliance tournament. So to continue my story, we got knocked out 1-2 with PL, and we were like, man, what do we do this year? You know, like, and we all voted like, let's do our own team because we're tired of like other people. Because when we were in PL, that was like kind of the contention is we had our team that we brought in, and then the rest of it was PL. So like PL wanted to run it PL's way, and we're under PL's banner, so you're kind of like beholden to how they want to do things. And like I don't ever want to be in the leadership channels because I just don't give a shit. Like I'm like, let's fly, let's figure it out. Like I don't want to like sit and argue with people about something that's supposed to be enjoyable, you know what I mean?
Right.
So
right.
like leave me out of the leadership channel. I'll just do, you know, I'll just do what I do. But so then we created our own team. So SEAL Club 6 is the corp, and then we created Plug and Play Alliance, so we could have our own AT. And you know what? Like there was still contention in the in the leadership channels and stuff.
No way, man. That's impossible. You're
Yeah,
pulling my leg here.
but that's just the way. Well, and the thing is too is like you have 20 to 30 people investing like 6 months of time with, and that's like that could be like 3 to 5 days or 3 to 5 practices a week. And we were running dual time zones, so we had EU and US, so there was even more practices. And then like everyone's invested, so like there's a lot of emotions involved, you know. So it makes sense. But yeah, so right at the very end, things kind of like the wheels kind of fell off the wagon for us, and we had a not very great showing, so we went 0-2 this year.
Ouch.
But we also just had like, I don't want to like, you know, it's kind of a like cowardly thing to say, but man, we got Odin's first round, and then we got Template's second round, so it was like,
so you went up against some heavy hitters right away off the bat, you know.
It felt like Kevin Durant's hardest road, you know what I mean? But actually hard this time, like.
It's like you go to play some baseball with some buddies, and all of a sudden Babe Ruth shows up, and it's like, what the fuck? Like,
I'm like Spartan, man. Like we go way back. You're gonna like not kill me, right? You killed me, so you know, fair enough. Good on you, Spartan. I get it. I would have done the same, but all I had was reppers. Yeah, so we didn't get. I think we might have got some skins or something. I don't even know.
I know that this year they did have a really generous, like, if you were even in the lower ranks, you still got some like ships and stuff, if I remember correctly. Or
yeah, we went
this
out
year or last year, but
yeah, I think you had to win at least like one match.
Right, but I mean, at least it was like a huge improvement from the years before, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. That it was like if you had to like really get into the top 10.
On who you ask, because some people are like, you know, like when the Laylaps dropped, you could sell it for 240 bill, and then like, you know, the Gary came back out, and people were like 90. So there are people out there that are like probably upset that, you know, the investment opportunities, but.
Yeah, you know. But so we are coming up to a point where I want to kind of move towards you know, kind of getting this wrapped up here, but and we've been having, this has been awesome, man. Like all of a sudden I look down, I'm like, man, we've been doing this for almost hour and a half now. Like this is it's been a great conversation, dude. But I wanted to make sure that we spent some time talking about the Fan Fest. So was
Oh yeah,
this
yeah.
was this your first fan fest this year, or have you been
Yes.
making the pilgrimage?
Nope, this is my first time. I've never been to Iceland before. I've been to uh, Britain and France and Belgium and Netherlands and stuff. So it had that like familiar European vibe to it, you know. But yeah, it was like, man, it was super awesome. I got back home and I was sad. I was like, why did I come back?
Let me just go back to, I found it really interesting was that you could go up and talk to anybody. Because like I
Oh
go to
yeah,
conventions all the time. Like Gen Con is a yearly pilgrimage for me. I do the 5.5 hour drive. We start at midnight.
did you ever go
On
to a Adepticon?
no, but I'm familiar with it.
Yeah, I was there. I was there last year, and I'll probably be there this year if you're going that way.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to check that out. But yeah, so I hit up a lot of these different conventions and stuff, and you can go talk to people, and you can have like a good time with people, but everybody's chasing to try and get to their event, and there's 40 million things to
Or the
do.
class.
Yeah, and it's and you can kind of make a connection. Oh, you play D&D, or you play World of Darkness, or and I've run events for these things, so you run into the players, but it's like 4 or 5, 10, maybe up to like I think I've had like 40 players in one big event that I've done before. So you run into them sometimes and stuff, but like the conversations are all short. It's very maybe you tell a story or something about what's going on, but it's hard to make like a really solid connection with people. And my wife goes with me to all of these cons and stuff like that too, and she plays Eve, but she's very, she just comes in and murders some people with us from time to time. She just wants to do some bounty
Yeah,
hunting or
he just does
murdering.
it casually,
Right.
which is
And
totally cool. Yeah.
so she just, she doesn't know all the big names or anything. She doesn't care about the politics or the history of the game to a certain degree. But when she came out to FanFest, she was like, "This is the best convention I've ever been to. This is epic. Like you can literally talk to anybody. It's all about drinking, hanging out. Like yeah, there's some like presentations that are really cool and stuff, but like the community is just unbelievable for this game. Like this is like where you can really feel like you're part of a true niche community, and you can walk up to your enemies and friends and be like, "What's up?" Like,
Yeah, exactly. I blew you up.
right.
No, I think the big reason behind that, because like I said earlier, I've played a lot of like competitive games, and like once you get to higher levels, the community is smaller, so you start seeing the same names over and over again, and that kind of builds that familiarity. But but with Eve, there's like not only the familiarity of seeing the same names over and over again, but there's like a shared built history to it, where it's like, yeah, like 10 years ago, like my group blew up this building and then they caused this ripple on effect, and like someone's like, yeah, and I fucking hate you because you ruined my corporation because we fail skated after, you evicted us or something. And it's like,
Yeah, actions are real in Eve. Like that's the thing that like so I listened a lot to the Empires of Eve and Empires of now they just came out with Empires of Eve 2 on audiobook. And I
oh, dude,
just it,
dang, I'm gonna have to check that out.
yeah, check it out. It's really really good. And on long drives, that's what I put on. My wife gets pissed off cuz she's like, like you're going to listen to this again?" I'm like, "Yes, because I am part of this history." When I hear them talking about World War, or the Great War One and the Second Great War, all the crazy stuff that happened between goons and PL and Test and everything is like I remember being there, and you can't do that with World of Warcraft. You can't do that with any other game that I know of. There's no like
The
living
only thing
history
World
that's
of Warcraft has like that would be like when the Anchorage gate opened and everyone joined the one server that achieved it first. That's like the only thing I could think of,
right.
And
There's like
even then,
achievements and like
even then
crazy.
it was like, oh, I rolled this new character just to see this thing happen. But like, it it's not like you, after that moment you were like, oh, I made all these friendships. You're
Right.
like, all right, back to my regular server. That was cool. I got a cool like Fraps video.
Right. Yeah, no, exactly. It's just there's this like uniqueness that it comes to like Eve of like the history that you're partaking in and that you actually contribute to. And it's forever embedded in this, like there's going to be stories about Eve, I feel like, that will perforate to the next 1,000 years. Like it's
Dude,
this.
I'm like, dude, my name is on a monument, dog.
Right. Like, yeah, oh man, when I got how many pictures did you take at the monument? Did you have to go back multiple times for friends, or did you just get
I
your own?
asked, and like nobody responded in time, so I went, thank God. I went down there like 3 times. Mostly just because that fucking bagel spot across the street was so good, dude. Like, um, but yeah, I only went down there for pictures once. I got like a couple buddies' pictures. I got I somehow ended up with 2 characters on there, so got both my own characters' pictures. Got a
You
nice
know,
big like panoramic of the big like the whole thing.
oh yeah, epic. Yeah, I don't know why, but I didn't grab my second character's name on there. I'm pretty sure he also has like a, I don't know, like I Frozen
True.
Fallout is me. Like that's just like
Yeah.
that's my embodiment. I really that's my only real true character. I mean, Kyle like does like shipping for me and stuff. Like like
Yeah, they all have their uses.
right, but so that's the only one I cared about was Frozen, and I've got the Titan chevron next to him. It's and I'm pretty sure Kyle has the Titan chevron next to him too. I'm
Yeah,
90% sure too, but
I missed out on that on Tank because I literally quit subscribing like February that year.
oh man, yeah. Well, I'm sure there'll
Maybe
be.
gotta appeal to them and be like, please, can I have a month?
I do like how they did anybody who had passed away. We like Vile Rat's got the chevron next to his name, and they made sure that people that were instrumental to the Eve community, that if they had passed away, that they're forever embedded in this monument. And yeah, I ended up like fielding like 20 or 30 pictures. I think 20, maybe 30 is an exaggeration, but
And some
felt
of
like
them were
30.
hard to find, like just based on the angle of the sun. It was like
Oh, to
you're
see
like,
that it depending, yeah, because we went there at night, we went there during the day. I went back like 3 or 4 times to like, because like people kept on hitting me up, hey, can you get mine? And I was like, oh, we just
alright.
finished, but I'll go back there later and do it again. And like the last night after the party at the top of the world, we did go down there. Like after we went to Lebowski's, got trashed, walked down to kind of sober up for a little bit.
You
And
were like drinking after that party, man. Like that is wild to me.
oh yeah, we went out to Lebowski's and partied it up with goons, and then it was just goon songs the entire time at Lebowski's. Like there was a dude who just kept on going up and being like, play this song, play this song, play this song, and they had like all of the goon remixes of songs that are out there, which those are all really epic.
Dude,
And that's when we
Lebowski's
learned about the
terrible stuff.
scooters. My wife ended up buying one of them for home here, so she just
Oh,
scootered
really?
to yoga, and those
Oh,
scooters are fucking epic, man. Like they are really cool. Like that was the first time we even ever tried one, and I was like, wow, like we're a fucking nano gang running around the city, man. This is fucking epic. Like,
oh man, I was frightened. I was like, I'm already gonna get hit by a car just walking because like, I just you know, I'm from a small town, man. Like, car and like the road, they're like the European roads, so it's like they're like 10 feet wide,
yeah,
and you can like drink in the street, so that was pretty dope. Like, I was like,
yep.
no, I'm gonna get in trouble. They're like, no, you're fine, man. Like,
Yep, no, Indianapolis. I'm used to that because Indianapolis has that when they went for Gen Con. But they had originally set it up for the Super Bowl that came there, so they allowed people to drink in the streets during the Super Bowl. Is the rumor that I heard, and
they
then they
just
just
liked it
kept it.
so much, they just kept it.
Yep, no, exactly. And but yeah, it was my wife actually who got us to like, because at first I was like, I don't like those scooter things. Like we see them in Indianapolis
No,
all the
here,
time, and I'm like, I
here's
don't
the
fucking
thing is
like.
like, I ride bikes and stuff, and they always cut you off,
And
and
zoom past
like,
you and
dude, I grew up at the skate park, like skating and BMXing, and like back in the day, it was like these damn scooter kids, they're gonna snake you, and I was like, I went like 15, 20 years not having to deal with scooter kids, and now they're back.
and now they're back with motorized scooters. Like,
Oh
yep.
yeah, dude, and like, and it's like I feel like they don't ever follow any type of like, like
Rules.
stay on
Yeah.
the right of the road or
Yeah, no, they're free, free willing it, man, and do
don't
whatever
blast a
they want.
U-turn without like looking behind you type of thing, like
So yeah, so I was like kind of against it, but my wife like tried it out one time because our Airbnb was right next to the convention. And
yeah.
so in order to get downtown, it was like a good little drive to get downtown. And she was like, "I'm just gonna check out these scooters," and then so we tried it, and it was like, this is actually pretty fucking cool. But I'm gonna try and be conscious of like I'm on a scooter. I'm not gonna try and like fuck with people that are on bikes and be courteous of pedestrians and like try and be a good example of what a good scooter person could be.
I will say that one night I can't remember, I think we were waiting in line. Did you go to Arabian Taste?
I did not.
Oh my god, it was so good, dude. Like, it was like the best like doner I've ever had in my life. It was so good. Anyways, we're like standing outside. We had left Lebowski's, so we're all wasted. And like a dude on one of those scooters was just hauling ass and hit a curb and just face planted so hard. And we were just like, oh my god, like but he got up and just took off. Like, I get it. I've fallen in public when you're like running. You're like, please no one talk to me. Like, I'm just gonna run away from my embarrassment, Like,
Right. Yeah, no, that's oh man. So um what would you say was the biggest highlight for you of FanFest?
oh man, I don't know. That like being in Iceland was super cool. Um, like chilling with everybody was super cool because like I got to like see a bunch of people I've played with for like 5, 6 years and like get drunk with them in real life instead of like over the internet.
Right, yep.
Um, like a lot of the like just like the Lever Erickson like monument and the church behind it is like super badass looking. Although I will say they bing bong on that fucking bell so loud on Sunday morning, man, for like an hour. And my hotel was across the street and it was so loud. And I was like, are they done yet? And they're like, no, bing bong. I'm like, God, dude. And that was after the big party.
Yeah,
So
the Hangover City.
yeah, dude. It was and I got there a week before, so I flew in the Saturday the week before
Oh
and like
wow.
landed like early Sunday morning. So I was getting drunk the whole week. Like I think Monday night I went to Hus Odds Menengar or whatever it was called, where they had like the 3 stories and the live music and stuff
Yeah,
every
yeah.
night. And like there was a bunch of Eve people there that first night just playing Magic. So started drinking there. The next night, all my buddies from like the PLAT team came in. So Lebowski's wheel was getting, put to use. That dangerous wheel. Oh
Yeah,
my
Virion
god.
was talking. I think pretty sure it was Virion who was talking about how he spun the wheel and like everybody like they kept on getting like White Russians. Like, like they had like a pile of White Russians and like
We kept getting the 10 beer thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
at one point,
Wow.
so at one point we're like, anyone wants a beer? Like just handing it out because like, dude, I can't drink that much. I don't drink that often. I drink like once or twice a month, and I drank I, and here's the thing, I went out with my buddy the night before I left too. I was just bored, and I was like, let's go get some drinks. And I got a flight in the morning, so I don't really care. I'm just gonna sleep on it. So then I'm on the plane over, and they're like, hey, we got this Icelandic gin. You want to try it? I'm like, sign me up. Give me 2. And, you know, like, so I just drank for like 10 days straight, and my liver was like, "Dude, what are you doing,
Yeah,
dog?" Like,
what's happening here? We're under assault. You know, I was
yeah,
really
like,
surprised. I'm not that big of a drinker. I like to drink every once in a while. Like when I'm streaming, sometimes I like to drink a little bit. I'm usually like, if we go out to the bar, I'm like one drink an hour type kind of person. Like maybe one every hour and a half, 2 hours. And I try not to get drunk, but I was like at the. Did you do karaoke or go to the
I did
karaoke
not
on?
I, see. By the time I got there, that's actually where we met the first time.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
So by the time I got there, like everyone had already signed up, and it was like a couple hours wait, and I was like,
Oh yeah.
uh, and I was meeting some other people in like an hour or something. So like, yeah, we hung out outside and chatted it up, and then I went inside, got some drinks, came back outside. You were still out there. A bunch of people left like a bunch of litter on the ground, and I was like cleaning that up for a minute.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And
Like a bunch of sandwich boxes and shit. I was
yeah,
like,
what the
that's kind
fuck?
of weird.
Uh but yeah,
Like, dude, there's nothing worse than littering, dude. Like,
yeah,
come on.
come on, man.
There's a
Like
trash can
we
with
all live on this
50.
planet. Let's try and, try and
Also,
make it a
like,
little
don't give a
better.
bad name to like Eve players. Like, dude,
Right.
look, like you want to like make people think like, man,
These
can't
are
wait till
good.
they come back again.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. So I remember that night though. I remember just pounding cider after cider after cider, and the alcohol level has got to be different. I didn't ever like verify this, but like I was 90% sure that I was gonna get home and I was just gonna have Spin City as soon as I laid down and just be puking for the rest of the night. And I got home or got to the Airbnb and I was like, I'm fine. I'm like, I'm not
What
driving anywhere,
elevation do
but
you
I
live
am
at?
fine. Like,
What elevation do you live at?
I mean, not very high at all. Like, we're just,
In
normal.
Madison is like 1,000 feet. Cause like I noticed that I was like taking some extra work to get drunk because we're at sea level. That's what I ascribed it to.
Interesting. That could be too. Yeah, because yeah, that entire time, I definitely got like not driving. Couldn't drive for sure. Drunk, but never got to the like spins or like like completely just and
Yeah.
no puking at all. Like I was
I
like,
had one night that I couldn't remember, and we drank so many White Russians that night that it made perfect sense.
that'll put you over the edge for
I was
sure.
like, I was like, I looked at my bank account the next day, and like my credit card company was like, "Hey, it looks like you got charged like a bunch of times for the same thing," and I was like, "No, those were all individual. Like, there wasn't an accident."
Oh man, that's
Because I just
crazy.
kept buying two at a time because I was like, these are so good. And then I would drink one, and by the time I was like, man, I already need another one. So I'd buy two, and then I could go chat with people and
Right.
like, you know, have a longer leash on my White Russian.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
um,
man, like I love FanFest, dude. Like I already bought my ticket for 2025.
Fuck yeah, I'll see you there, man. Like that was the like immediately when they were like, "Oh, tickets are on sale now." I was like, "Ha ha ha, that's funny.
I
It's
missed
in
out on that one.
2025." So,
Like, I missed out on the super early bird because it was like 160, I want to say.
yep, that's what we got. We got that immediate. Like me and my wife, I was like, "Honey, we're going back to Iceland, right?" And she's like, "Yeah, we can do this again." And we had just spent a
Yeah.
bunch of money, but we had enough money to be like, "Sure, we'll just drop another, $300-400 on this like price thing
I
now."
was like, I gotta at least make it home before I do this, because like, who knows what's gonna happen? Like, if I'm gonna have to buy a private jet or something to
Right.
like get myself home or something.
Right.
Um,
But
yeah.
yeah, so that yeah, I am super excited for 2025.
Are you doing Eve Vegas or any of the other?
That is the plan. Is I don't I'm on the lookout for when Eve Vegas comes. We're also going to be hosting Eve Madtown. So we're
I've seen
doing
the flyer for that.
yeah the Madtown meetup. So we're gonna do that in 2024 on May 4th. May the 4th be with us when it comes to getting people to come out to Madison here and doing some hanging out at the barcade that we have here. We're just gonna get trash and have
Hell
fun
yeah.
and um, But yeah,
What
so
are your thoughts on Eve London?
I would love to be able to go to Eve London, but that is a ways away from me. But it would be. I've got a lot of coworkers that live out of the London area, so
Okay.
there's a possibilities. Probably not this year, but maybe next year that I would do that. And
Yeah,
we
my
got to
buddy's
get
trying to
all the
get me to
merch, like.
the world tour, you know.
Oh yeah, that would be a lot of fun to just hit up all of the Eve major events that are going on out there. There's like Eve
Yeah, because they
Amsterdam
got
isn't there. There's
well, they got the four main ones. So like, from what I heard, at this fan fest was um, Vegas, New Orleans, London, and then the next fan fest are like the four major big, like the big boys.
yeah. Now we just need to get Madison to become one of those because there are a lot of Eve players here. I mean, when Goons threw their parties here, it was pretty epic. They had 2 parties a year that they threw in
I mean,
Madison.
just knowing how many 40K players are in the Midwest, you know,
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, we're an interesting
a
bunch. I
lot
mean,
of
this is where
overlap
Gary
there.
Gygax grew up. This is where D&D kind of evolved, and
I feel
Wisconsin
like
is
if
such a
you like,
weird fucking state, man. I don't know why anybody knows about us, but people do.
yeah, I feel like if you like Eve, like you probably like 40K.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I'd agree with that.
I
Um,
liked Eve for like 10 years, and then like people were like, "Oh yeah, new 40K's coming out," and I'm like, "Man, I haven't thought about 40K because like I think I grew up with not a lot of money, so like I
mhm.
can afford that, you know."
Yeah, me too. Me too.
I really liked Warhammer Fantasy, and of course, the army that I chose to collect were Skaven, so literally the most expensive, most models that you could, you know. And then like my start to the collection was like me buying 3 pewter like plague rats or something, or I can't remember what they were, but I had 3 of them.
Right.
So like 1/200th of an army, you know.
Right. Yeah. So, real quick though, what do you think of the changes coming to faction warfare, the pirate invasion that's happening?
I'm pretty excited, but like the one thing that I have an issue with is that I can't like play all sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. Of like Frozen
I mean,
is
like that's not
so
a problem,
torn.
but it's like I just want to. I like want to dabble in everything, so I'm like, yeah, let me try that. You know?
Yeah. No,
But
I hear you.
I got alts. I'll probably put an alt each into each of the different pirates, just to, you know, they're like not super subcap pilots, but they can make it work.
They can make it work. Yeah, I'm gonna see. I might bring in my alt Rifter into the pirate factions and try having him because he's got a shit ton of skill points that can do all of like the sub capitals and stuff like that. But I'm also considering just making a new alpha account and just throwing that into it and being like doing some streaming on that and being like, okay, can you as an alpha new character? I mean, yeah, the player behind it has got a lot of experience, but I'm shit at this fucking game. So, I'm kind of like a newbie if I've got a brand new character.
That's
Um,
the beauty of Eve, man. Like I've spent years playing competitive video games, and it's so nice to not have to like stress about things. Like it's stressful, but it's not like
it's okay to be
"Just
shit
don't hit
at
all the
Eve.
buttons." Yeah, I mean, the servers are 1 tick a second. You know what I mean? It's
Right,
like
so it's
people in Counter Strike are like, "Oh, gross! These servers are only 60 or whatever tick, 64 tick. We need 128." It's like, man, Eve has one.
yeah,
One
one
tick.
one tick a fucking second, man. Yeah, and I like that. I like the slower pace of that. Yeah, so I kind of want to do like a little bit of a stream and to see if you can, as a new player, join up with the pirate factions, or does it require a fully fledged character with solid subcap skills? Do you need to actually be subscribed to participate properly in these activities that are going
Yeah.
to be happening?
Also, is it just gonna be like you having to kill other players? Because then in that scenario, that's gonna be harder for an alpha, just because
So
Like,
it definitely looks like there's a lot of PvE activities that need to be done. What I'm concerned about is actually not the PvP aspect, because I think a new player can get into the PvP aspect and be a tackle fairly fucking quick and
that's
easily,
a
and
good
that's a
point.
good thing to start and learn. Logi is another good and easy one to kind of start learning and get into, and you can do it as like even an alpha character. Um, but the PvE activities, if it's heavy on like you need to have a PvE fits, and it's more like the Triglavian stuff that's
Like
happening
the Abyss.
like well the Abyss, and also the group activities that are happening out
Oh
in
yeah, yeah.
Triglavian space. Um, and so is it going to be like that where you have to be hardcore PvE, like high level skills just to survive the rats that are going to be fucking with you? Or is it going to be like faction warfare where like the rats
The
don't
rats just
fucking matter, man? Like they're there for fucking, like just to
you're there
have
to stop the timer.
right, exactly.
And
They're
like you have to have enough of a DPS, enough
right.
DPS to break their buffer.
And you don't need tank at all. They're not really affecting a PvE fight when it's or PvP fight when it goes down.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of hoping that they lean more towards faction warfare side of PvE, where PvE is an activity that gets you in space and prepped and ready to do PvP,
Yeah, make
rather
you a
than
target.
right. And so we'll see what comes out of this. I'm interested in the playtests that are going on and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I'm curious how they're gonna extrapolate it to nullsec, because they were mentioning that at FanFest. Like, this is like a trial run for how we want to change Sov warfare. And
Yes.
like, dude, people have been complaining about Fozzie Sov since it came out, so it's like, it, if it at least shuts those people up.
Hey
That's
man,
all I mean.
one thing I want to see is this beautiful map that we have underneath us on the screen here
Yeah.
is beautiful. Like this is the best map that Eve has, period, outside or inside of the game. This is like how to view Eve. It looks like Stellaris. It's really fucking awesome. And it's easy to manipulate and see where you're going, what's going on. I would love to see this brought out to 0.0 with each region having their own kind of map like this. And that's how wars are fought, is that you've got to like invade somebody's territory. There are front lines, there's back lines, and that would be kind of cool. So we'll see though.
Like, just to kind of get back to the old school faction warfare for a minute, like I do miss back in the day, pre-Citadel, that if you took over a system, like it barred the opposing militia from like doing anything in that system.
So I do have to say that I actually like the new system that brought this in. It brought it back. Is that if you have a Citadel in that system, you can only dock in a pod. So like you are actually fully kicked out of the system if you lose it. If it's a frontline system, you're still there. But if it goes to the command operations or the back line of the enemies, you're fully kicked the fuck
Probably
out.
read like all the patch notes that have come out in the past 2 years.
It's a lot of changes. Or you could just watch our show. We get you updates all the time of what's going to be happening.
Well, like I told you before, like the show, I just recently came back to playing on TQ because of FanFest, I was like, oh man, I kind of miss Eve, because like AT is fun, but it's not the same game. It's like playing. What's a good analogy? It's like Counter-Strike to Half-Life. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like,
yeah.
it's the same thing, but it's not.
Yep.
And
So,
like,
speaking
I
of,
love Eve, but it's hard to get into when like sometimes, because it's like golf. It's like you gotta have the time committed.
yes,
to
it is
get
a
into
lot
it.
of time commitment. It's kind of crazy. Speaking of first-person shooters, though, what do you think of Vanguard?
Oh, dude, I'm stoked. Because the only reason I didn't play Dust is because I didn't have a PlayStation. So,
Right. Yes. So
like,
they're doing it
like
right.
on
If
PC.
they had said that this was a PlayStation exclusive, I was literally going to just walk out of the presentation. And
Oh,
just be
dude,
like,
I would have
fuck this shit.
I would have made a weird squealy noise.
And but no, there looks like they're doing it right this time. Everything looks to be lined up to be really cool. They don't have the planetary bombardment yet. It sounds like that's not going to be part of the initial release of getting a destroyer in space and bombarding down, which was a cool aspect of Dust
Yeah,
514. I played Dust. I had a few friends that played Dust. It was really awesome. Um,
yeah, I gotta play at a friend's house, but it's like if you only get to play for like 3 hours on a weekend, it's like okay.
that's nothing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I want to sit down and like not sleep for 3 days, you know?
Yeah, yep. No, I'm interested to see what the PvE PvP aspect of the game is like. How much it integrates into Eve Online. Because I really thought that Dust 514 was gonna like revolutionize gaming. Period. That it was going to be this huge change up of like this is how you do an MMO is that you have two games that interact with each other but are completely one's an FPS and one's a strategy or whatever.
I honestly think like it could have been way like there's like two or three things that come to mind like why it failed. Like PlayStation exclusive. Um Also at the time, like online gaming was not reliable, like and the PlayStation network at the time was like crap.
Hmm.
So like, I guess that would have been alleviated more had it been released on PC. But yeah, like it had the juice, man. They
It
just
did.
didn't squeeze it.
Well, from my understanding is that one of the big things was is that so there was the PlayStation 4 was coming out. So they had released it on PlayStation 3. They had coded it for their own special coding on the Unreal Engine 3 or something like that. Um, and they ended up when PlayStation 4 came out, they could have got onto PlayStation 4, but they had to redo the entire code, and they were given like a buttload of money in order to be on PlayStation 3. So instead of using that buttload of money in order to revamp the game, they kind of dropped it. It was just like we'll take our cash grab that we got out of this. We made a bunch
Yeah.
of money off of it, and we'll make a
Well,
better game. And
that's
use
the
like the
whole reason they went PlayStation exclusive. I mean, I don't know the inner workings, but that would be my assumption is that they had a financial incentive that made it
yeah.
not as much of a burden for them to do the whole thing if they released it that way,
That's what my sources have told me is that there's it was basically PlayStation offered them a shit ton of money. They went with that, and then they didn't have the proper coding to be on PlayStation 4, and it would just been it would have gone from massively profitable to like a minus in the banking
Yeah.
books in order
And
to
that's the
actually update
benefit
the
about
code.
consoles nowadays too, is that they're much more standardized on their engines and their software that they're using to it's like the gap between like a console and a PC release back then was much bigger than like today if you want to port a game over, you know?
Yep. But yeah, this has been really awesome. We're coming up on about 2 hours here, so I want to make sure that I give a little bit of time here for you to, if you have any shout outs, if you have any projects that you're working on, any channels that you want to shout out to, or ones that you're working on, just to give you a little bit of an extra spotlight here.
Yeah, I don't really do anything content creation wise. I just like playing the game, but I always like to encourage people to like join an AT team. I think if we had more AT pilots in the game, you know, uh, it really it's like it's a whole new way to look at it, and it's gonna like make your enjoyment of the regular game a lot better, in my opinion. And then you get way tighter with like your Eve buddies because you get to hang out every night. That's like and then you like learning roles and stuff like that is like indispensable when it comes to big fleet battles, understanding like your position. And then this is like supposed to be like a shout out for like my stuff, but I'm just like doing a motivational speech instead.
That's great. No, I love it. I love it.
No, I don't have anything to shout out, man. I just like playing Eve, and I had a lot of fun at FanFest, and I'm like excited to get back into playing Eve again. So.
All right, yeah, we'll definitely see you out there. I mean, I know Sedition, we've been working hard with them. I'm part of the network. We got hired out to be in your guys' war zone fighting in OICX. Like, it's been a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
and I think Snuff just, still to this day, Snuff just refed one of our structures.
I mean,
So,
we've done. I've been on many of Sedition fleets that we have dunked on fucking Snuff.
oh
It's
yeah,
always fun to
like for
blow up one
both
of their
games.
marshals or one of their dreads, or like sometimes
It's
they
like,
aren't able to drop the hammer like they really want, and they put themselves
yeah,
into a situation where it takes them 30 minutes to get that hammer over, and if Sedition's already got their hammer in place, like we just drop 50 guys on you and we'll just fucking murder your fucking shit and get the hell out before your hammer's
yeah,
up.
exactly, dude. Well, and that's like the benefit of like AT and FanFest, right? Is like on my AT team, I've flown with like people from Snuff, people from PL, people from Goons, all over space, wormholes. Um, it's like this. It's a similar thing that I feel like with FanFest, where it's like, all right, you like set aside like these TQ animosities, and then you realize like, hey, these people aren't like goblins. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
They're
man, I
not
hated these
robots.
people. They kicked me out of my space. You know what I mean? And then you like fly with them, and you're like, oh, he's just a dude. You know?
Yeah, that's Eve. We're all a bunch. I mean, being an asshole in Eve is kind of par for the course. Like,
Yeah,
kicking people out
yeah.
of their space, it just fucking happens. Like, it's nothing against you. It's just, I'm just part of the team
And
that
that's what makes the
leaves.
game beautiful. Like, dude, if there wasn't that like sense of risk, then you wouldn't get the shakes. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah. Oh my god, man, the shakes in this game are so fucking.
Yeah,
Even
like
16, 17 years later plus that I've been playing this game, I still get the shakes every fucking PvP fight that I
oh
get.
man, I came back to the game. This is embarrassing, but I'll admit this before we go. Came back to the game. I like told you earlier that I had like moved all my assets out of like Delve and stuff at the before the war ended, but when I called it quits, and I was like getting one of my supers out, didn't have any fuel in it. Um, I was waiting for one of my buddies to like bring down a DST full of stuff, and I like was drunk as all hell, and I hit the undock button on an NPC station, dude. Like,
Oh
oh man, I was
man.
like adrenaline through the roof. I was able to like get off to a safe and like cloak and wait for like the DST to come drop a can, But I was like, what the hell, dude? Because you can't redock that bitch, like.
No, yeah, you're
And
fucked,
the,
man.
and the keep current system was no longer friendly, so like
Oh
that was
man,
rough.
rough. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's gonna cause massive heart attack right there. Like, I mean,
yeah. But
I'm
you
gonna
know
have to be
what? Like,
careful when I'm 80 or 90 years old playing this game because it's Eve will probably kill me. Like
you
that's
get
what's gonna happen.
like they say that like older people have like a higher, like have a lot more heart attacks when they're like having sex, but like
Hmm.
our generation is like he was on a fleet, man. Like,
Awesome, man. Well, this has been super fucking cool. Thank you for coming on to the show.
yeah, thanks
Maybe
for having me on.
when Vanguard comes out and after the next Alliance tournament or something like that, we'll have to get you back on here and tell us about how those are going, what you think of the new game for Vanguard.
Well, I'm
Tell
gonna
us.
play the hell out of it, man. Like I got like 2,000 hours in Counter Strike. Like sign me, dude. Sign me up.
Yes, awesome, awesome. Well, I'll be there with you, man. Maybe we'll have to
Yeah.
join forces and
In,
murder some
in
people
fact, I
together.
have signed up to the
The,
the
the
stress
open
test.
test, yeah, yep,
Yeah.
yep, me
Whatever's in
too.
December. So I'll be shooting you there, babe.
Hell yeah, man. Awesome. And thank you all for watching and listening. This is, all the support that we get from you guys out there in viewership land. It's super awesome. We've been getting some really great feedback. So definitely thank you for sticking with us. And, we're going through some massive changes here at the Federation Frontline Report. We used to be Golden Age Stories, that people thought that we were part of fucking World of Warcraft and shit, because that's actually my last fucking name. I'm suing World of Warcraft over the goddamn use of Gul'dan. They can't use that name anymore. That's my fucking last name. That's my real last name. Fuck. Anyways, so we've
man,
switched
yeah.
everything on over. We're gonna do Federation Frontline Report, where that in our corporation in Eve is that now, our Twitch is that, our Twitter is
Down
that,
baby.
and so we're doing a massive changeover. Really looking for people that are West Coast time, East Coast to West Coast time for US that want to come out and do like fleets on Wednesdays, on like Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and like Saturdays and Sundays.
That you post those in, or are they like?
So we're running on every Sunday. I'm running a public fleet for an NPSI for Spectre fleet. That's the Thrasher fleet. So usually that's going to be at about I think it's 1800 Eve time is what I've set that to be as my regular time that I kind of want to take stuff out. What's that? Sunday.
Sunday?
Yep, Sunday.
I'm like trying to remember what day of the week it is. I'm like, that's tomorrow.
Yeah, that's tomorrow. Yep. So we do our public fleets on that day, but I'm also thinking Wednesday we might be doing some more NPSI for Fun Inc. And stuff like that. We might also have some more things that are open up to people that are on Mondays and Tuesdays. We do flying on like Friday nights and Saturday nights as well. But our big one is like, Wednesdays is when we're streaming. Sundays are when we're streaming. And we just want to create like a solid late night community for Eve, because like everybody that we fly with a lot lately has been freaking EU time zone. So all this crazy stuff is going on during my working hours, and I want to be able to get off of work, jump on, hang out with like 5, 10, 15, 20 people, and let's just go out and fucking murder some shit. And we want to build up the corporation around being just a bunch of bloodthirsty, pirate, murderous bastards. Like, I mean, we're part of Galente, but we're privateers. But I mean, really, at heart, we're just a bunch of fucking pirates. We're also.
We got, you guys, you blasting that freedom,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. We're also going to do some. We're technically should be in our 3rd season for the Federation Frontline Report right now for the podcast. But we're kind of holding off as we're going to do a little bit of a makeover. We're going to be more of a pirate radio station kind of feel that we're going to kind of bring to things. Do a little bit of a makeover, but we're gonna make sure that's all set up so that once we jump over to season 3, that it has a little fresh coat of paint that we're gonna kind of put onto the visuals that we have, and the opening might be a little bit more. We're messing around with the video that we have at the beginning and stuff, but so lots of changes coming to the Federation Frontline Report here, and we're really creating the branding that we want to have. We're also going to make sure that we have mugs and t-shirts and coasters and cool ass shit to hand out.
From FanFest is you got to bring swag.
Yeah, just a bunch of swag. Like at the May 4th event that we're throwing here in Madison, we're going to give out prizes. We're going to give out t-shirts. We're going to give out a bunch of swag of just pins and cool like stuff that people can have, like little stuff and big stuff that people can take home with them. When we go to Eve Vegas, when we go back to FanFest, that's going to be our thing, is that we want to have a ton of fucking merch that we just hand out to people and be like, fuck it, just this is what we do, man. Like, check us out.
Well, dude, I mean, like that was like the thing at FanFest. People were like, you got any buttons?
Yeah.
Any buttons?
Got any button? Yeah, button. I got a button. Also, I would like to say that a big shout out to your cat. Has been in the background like this entire time, like just like like showing off. I love kittens, so
I have another one right here.
Aww.
He's deaf though.
Oh, that looks so cute. That's so fluffy. Is it pure white?
Yeah. His name is Bruce Wayne.
Bruce Wayne, I love it. Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. Thank your cats for coming onto the show here and showing off their cuteness. And definitely check out our website, Federation Frontline Report. It's brand new. We're going to be building it up a lot more. It's got the Twitch, our podcast, and our YouTube on there, but we're gonna do some more with it. Also, check out Declarations of War. It is an epic podcast that's been around forever now, run by the Noir group. So their Noir has been around in the mercenary organization for a long time. We've joined up with them in their alliance, the Network. So if you want to do mercenary contracts and stuff like that, if you're interested in that kind of lifestyle, check us out. Noir or Federation Frontline Report. There's also Hungry and a few others that have joined with us recently. We're really building up a solid network of mercenaries that we're putting together in this network alliance.
In the network.
In the network, man. But check out their podcast. It's super, super cool. We'll have that in the Declarations of War. Or Declaration of War. I think a Declaration of War. But yeah, it's
Declarations.
Yeah, Declarations of War. Yeah, super good.
Good guy.
So awesome. Well, thank you all so much, and have a great day.
Thank you, sir.